Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today's Sunday and it's June the 26th, 2022. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I'd like to extend to you a warm welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find the information here to be informative. And if you're a return viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently here on these YouTube streets. So you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. Feel free to like and to share this video. And don't forget to subscribe. Well, the emphasis of our video today is a perfect example why victims of sex crimes should continue to come forward no matter how long ago that abuse took place. And as I've said so many times in the past, in the state of North Carolina, there's no statute of limitation for sex crimes. And this story should provide hope for victims, especially the young victims out there who continue to wonder if anyone would ever believe them or if they would ever achieve justice. This video is being created just for you. And this is our story headline: 2 school administrators get jail time for student sex crimes. I'll provide you with a summary here, and as always, I'll place links to a few of the full articles in the description box. And our first story is coming out of the city of Lexington here in North Carolina. Take a look at that headline. And it reads, former assistant principal / pastor gets 4 to 5 years for student sex crimes. And for our first case, we're focusing on this man. His name is Jason Keller, age 42, a former assistant principal at Union Grove Christian High School in Lexington, and he's also a local pastor. Now, his specific church affiliation was not identified in any of the articles, and that's a bit unfortunate. But nonetheless, 2 weeks ago, and it was June the 15th to be exact, Jason Keller was given 5 consecutive 10 to 12-month sentences in relation to multiple felony counts of sexual activity with a student. And based on what has been reported, this may not have been his only documented case of abuse. Now, this case has been in the system for some time, and this is what has been reported back. On July the 11th of 2019, Jason Keller was arrested for a series of child sex crimes he had allegedly committed between 2008 and 2009. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, over a decade ago. And during that time, the victim, meaning the student, was being investigated for an alleged inappropriate relationship with a school administrator. Reports say the victim did report the abuse to authorities back then, but the outcome of that case at that time was unknown. But new evidence was provided in this case, because the victim, who's not an adult, eventually did come forward and tell her story. Authorities say he had sex with a juvenile student 10 times during a 12-month period. Now, we don't know all of the details, but it must have been one heck of a story, because Keller was arrested and charged with 10 counts of sex crimes involving a juvenile student. And again, this was the assistant principal at the school, who was also a pastor, and he was given a $1 million bond. And you know, as I was reviewing this case, you know, some thoughts came across my mind. I kept asking myself, is she the only one? Are there other victims at other schools, maybe at the churches where he's a pastor? We just don't know, because we don't know how long this bad behavior had been taking place. We just don't know the actual extent of his child sex abuse. And again, this arrest with charges took place in July of 2019, and on June the 15th of this year, a jury unanimously found Jason Keller guilty on all 10 counts of child sex abuse by a school official, and they sentenced him to 5 consecutive 10 to 12-month period in jail. And upon his release, Keller will have 30 months of supervised release in addition for 3 additional cases. So we do know that he was a repeat offender. And you know, even though it was not mentioned in any of the articles, I am almost certain he will be required to register as a sex offender. And now I'm sure the pastor and former school administrator, the former assistant principal, I'm sure he's probably been asking himself whether it was all worth it. I bet he thought he'd gotten away with after so many years had gone by. Well, he did not. And now let's move directly into our next case. And this time we're traveling just outside of the North Carolina state line to Rock Hill in South Carolina, where it's the same type of case, just different location. Take a look at this headline. And it reads, Assistant Principal pleads guilty and is sentenced for student sex crimes. And this case centers around Kenneth Williams, former assistant principal at Northwestern High School, which is located in Rock Hill, South Carolina, who recently pled guilty to a series of sex crimes and other coercive actions involving a young student, behaviors that started when the young girl was 15 years old. And as in the previous case, the victim is now an adult and has been able to finally seek justice for what she endured as a juvenile. The only difference here is that she has been pursuing her justice for several years, and she's speaking out to the media telling her story. I don't plan to use her full name, but I'll refer to her as Miss Long. And the reason I'm combining these two cases because that both abusers were sentenced earlier this month. And this is what has been reported on this case. Investigators say that Williams met the victim, hereafter referred to as Miss Long, when she was a freshman at another high school. It was Rock Hill High School, and he was her PE teacher. He then began dating Miss Long's mother, who was 13 years his senior, and he presented himself as a father figure in the young teen's life. The mother was so comfortable with this relationship that Williams, was given a key to their house. So you see how interesting this is? He first started with her mother, acted like a father figure, and then began abusing the young child. Just shameful. But you see, he was not really interested in a mother. It was a young girl he wanted all along. And it appears that the relationship with the mother may have ended. It was not clear. But prosecutors say the first incident took place when Miss Long was just 15 years old. He convinced her that age was nothing but a number, pointed out that he had dated her mother, who was 13 years his senior, so it would be okay for the young girl, this 15-year-old, to be having sex with him. And that is exactly what began to happen. And shortly thereafter, when Williams was accepted for the position as assistant principal at Northwestern High School, he encouraged the young teen to transfer to that school. So you see, he made sure that he was going to keep having her close by. Prosecutors said that Williams had an extensive sexual relationship with this student while he was assistant principal at Northwestern High School. They say he used Snapchat to solicit nude pictures from the victim because he knew that the communication on Snapchat would disappear after it was read, but that was not the only thing he did. According to reports, Williams repeatedly sexually abused, and threatened the young girl just to make sure she continued to have sex with him. They said he first promised to protect her from school bullies, then he threatened to ruin her school record, and then he threatened to take her and a younger sibling away from her mother so that she would never see them again if she did not continue to give in to his sexual demands. Then he threatened to let the bullies harm her unless he was able to have his way. So it appears that when one strategy did not seem to be working, he created another. And this young 15-year-old had to look at him day after day after day. And the victim, Miss Long, was 16 years old when she made officials aware of what was going on. She finally was fed up, I'm sure. Records say it was after a fight. She had been attacked by school bullies, and Williams, arrived on the scene with others. And while she was being restrained by officials, she refused to go with him. And that's when she just shouted out the abuse allegations so everybody could hear right there in the open. She let everybody know, and that prompted an investigation. The school was forced to take action, and of course, the police got involved. And after an intense investigation that followed, detectives learned that the assistant principal had a reputation among students of being the P word, i.e., he had a reputation of taking advantage of young girls. Williams was eventually arrested and charged with 4 counts of third-degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor, 1 count of second-degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor, and another count of unlawful conduct towards a child. His bond at that time was set at $110,000, and he was able to post bond and remained free to roam around as usual. And this is one of the things that the victim said bothered her the most. And after what may have seemed like a lifetime of waiting for justice earlier this month, Williams pled guilty to assault and battery of a high and aggregated nature, sexual battery with a student, and disseminating obscene materials. He was able to do a plea deal. In court, Williams spoke before the judge and offered a tearful apology in the presence of the victims and her family, saying, and I quote, "I want to apologize to everyone in here, including the victim and her family. I apologize for any inappropriate communication or contact that I had. I didn't have any wrong intentions." End of quote. I just wonder how they allow individuals to say such nonsense. Yes, you did. You knew you were doing wrong. You knew exactly what you were doing. You just thought that you would continue to get away with it. That's all. And then the victim spoke before the judge with her impact statement, sharing the mental and emotional toll this sexual abuse had created on her life, to include diagnosis of being treated for depression and having suicidal thoughts. The judge then sentenced William to 18 months in jail, and after he's released from prison, he will be on probation for 3 years, and then he must register as a sex offender for 15 years. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Two school administrators, two assistant principal, one was a pastor, and they both will now be serving jail time for having sexual contact with their students. And you know, they're not the only ones. There are many more out there. And guess what? You should be worried. And you know why? Because victims are finally finding the courage to speak out and share their truth. And as I prepare to close out this video, I want to speak directly to the survivors, not the victims, but the survivors, because you're not just a victim, you're a survivor. I want to encourage you to speak up. Reclaim your voice. You no longer have to remain silent. Reclaim your voice. You no longer have to carry that burden alone. Whatever happened to you, it was not your fault. And you no longer have to suffer in silence. Abuse is wrong. Speak up and share your story. And if one person does not believe you, go tell it to someone else. Remember, there's no statute of limitation for sexual abuse in the state of North Carolina. That means no matter how long ago you were violated, you can still receive justice. And that's all I have for you right now. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. It's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks just like this one here, that's the notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.